Welcome to Inspire Campfire, a podcast where ordinary people tell their stories of extraordinary adventure. These are campfire stories meant to inspire the rest of us to light the fire within, get outside, follow our dreams, and return to tell our own stories. Ready? Let's strike the match.
Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Scott Wurzbacher, and today we're going to talk with someone whose call to adventure came with a mission filled with meaning and purpose as she traded her business suit and dress shoes for flip-flops. Now, when I think of flip-flops, I generally think of relaxing on the beach. But what happens when the ocean finds those shoes and washes them away and then deposits them somewhere else, contributing to the trash that consumes polluted beaches of Africa? Enter Ocean Soul, whose mission is to rid the Indian Ocean of plastic while creating both social and economic opportunity out of the collected waste. Ocean Soul's founder and CEO, Erin Smith, is with us today. Erin spent over 25 years working all over the world in international business, living in the US, the United Kingdom, and Kenya. Her education includes studies at George Mason University, Georgetown, UVA, and the University of Pennsylvania. And Erin is here to share what happens when you combine a successful career in business with purpose and a love of travel and adventure. Erin, welcome to the campfire.
Thank you very much, Scott. I'm very honored to be here with all your adventurous listeners and inspired by everything. So I can't wait to chat.
I am so excited to hear about how all of this came to be. You have an adventure spirit. But for listeners, could we just start with what is Ocean Soul?
Sure. Well, Ocean Soul is an enterprise, a social enterprise. We're in the process of becoming a B certified company, which a lot of your listeners will probably know about. We are based in Kenya. So we have an organization in Kenya that basically works across our whole entity and creates a workshop of cleaning the beaches. And I can talk about how we've set up this kind of infrastructure of cleaning our beaches, collecting everything off the beaches, but we, Ocean Soul, buy the flip-flops from local communities, and we take them to our workshop and transform them into beautiful art pieces and some functional products, but statement pieces that are bright and beautiful and full of color.
Yes, they are. And you guys have a great website with lots of great content, and folks can go over to oceansoul.com to see some of the amazing art that you guys have created. And we'll also have pictures on the show notes as well for people to see. But it really is truly stunning pieces of art. I do want to ask you the B certified. So for folks that don't know what B certified is, can you just elaborate on that?
Yeah, well, B certified is a great concept that, started here in the United States. And it's basically for an organization that really wants to be either circular or sustainable or has a social impact. So, an LLC is, very profit driven, and, and a nonprofit, we're a bit different because we're kind of a nonprofit business, but, a lot of nonprofits are relying on grants and, foundations to provide funding. But the B Corp is saying, well, wait a minute, there's something in the middle. And we're like the perfect kind of entity where we're a bit like the Girl Scouts, if we're not hustling cookies and, stuffing people's faces with mint thins, and selling art, we're not doing good. So, and there was a gap, I think, in the legal structure that this B Corp has really satisfied for people.
Yeah. Okay, that's great. I love the sustainability piece. So the seeds of Ocean Soul existed before you came into the picture. Can you tell us a little bit of the background of how Ocean Soul came to be?
Sure. So one of the problems that we solve is, obviously this huge amount of flip-flops that end up on our coastlines, and they come from far away. And I'll talk to you about like how they come and why there are so many. They come from our riverways. They come from villages because, people discard them. And it's not as if Kenyans or other people are really throwing, flip-flops into the ocean or, quote, we lost our flip-flop on the Saint-Tropez boat. That's not the issue. so what was happening is, and they follow the tides, similar to our migrating like turtles and other marine life.
Yeah.
And what some locals in Kenya and some people from worldwide WWF is they were cleaning the beaches to allow for the turtles to hatch. And, because obviously we need to make them clean, here in America, obviously everybody knows about like these turtle hatchings. They need to be cleaned. They return there. And the beaches were so dirty that they couldn't get onto the beach. So local communities were cleaning them. And then what was observed was the flip-flops were being kept to create toys, and for the young kids, and kind of gluing them together or tying them and using them as some type of entertainment. And that kind of garnered the idea of, oh, what can you do with these flip-flops, and kind of create jobs. And that just started its long journey from being kind of a grassroots project idea to kind of a full-fledged kind of operating enterprise that sells globally.
Yeah. And again, just kind of going back to the art itself. I mean, obviously flip-flops come in all different colors. And that's what's so cool about the art, is it's like you talked about gluing them together and making things out of them. Like, just the artwork that you guys make is just full of color. They're so vibrant. And it's really the videos that you guys have again online of kind of the process of how the artists make this it's really fascinating. I definitely encourage people to check that out.
Yeah, and often everybody, when they first see him, like we'll see such shows, and people are like, "Oh, paper mache," or people really don't understand what it's made of. And then when you're kind of going, "No, it's flip flops," they're like, "What?" And then we have to kind of tell the backstory for people to understand it. But yeah, I mean, it is. We're probably the only ones around the world, besides maybe some local artists that do this form of art. So we're quite in a unique position.
Yeah. So I definitely want to get into some of the details of the organization, but
Mhm.
like for you, you have this incredible like 25-year history of just international business and living. Can you kind of help us understand how you got involved, and maybe kind of your background leading up to Ocean Soul?
Yes, well, yeah, so 25 years, you're being kind. And so I yeah, I did, spent my youth and, most of my career in high tech. I had my own kind of software company. I was in private equity. I worked for British Telecom, kind of as a CIO. Just very, blue suits and in high heel kind of jobs, which I absolutely loved. I'm an ADHD person, and I love, kind of the
Yeah.
whole like complexity of the problems and stuff that's solved. But I was traveling a lot. I mean, I pretty much, was a million flyer on Emirates and British Airways and Kenya Airways, and I was given an opportunity, I don't know, 2010, to leave London and go work across Middle East and Africa. And I'd already been traveling a little bit into Kenya, to Lamu Island, which is an extraordinary island in Kenya, and going there from holidays because the English do travel a lot. Kenya is kind of like the Caribbean, if you will, to
Yeah.
like America. And so anyhow, I'd been there and I fell in love with the place. And when this opportunity came along and they, said I could live in Nairobi or Dubai or Johannesburg, I chose Nairobi. And there I basically spent the next 5 years traveling all across sub-Sahara. I mean, I've been to every single, country that, is feasible in Africa and the Middle East that I could go to. And I loved it, but, it was getting tired. And I really wanted to settle in Kenya. I could see my life there. And so I just up and quit my kind of corporate job and decided that it was enough. And I was turning 50 and young programmers weren't looking to me for advice anymore. And I knew I had enough money to kind of do some investment. So that's what I, started doing. But I was started to help my friend Julie Church, who had, kind of brought this grassroots organization to the next level. And she was a marine biologist and struggling a little bit with some of the shareholdings, with the governance and finance and all the stuff that I've lived and breathed. And so I started working with her. And that's when, it just got to the point where there's a lot of liabilities, a lot of debt, a lot of just issues, and the people were suffering more than kind of the rest of us. And so I just decided to take on that, kind of responsibility, fiscally and, and managerial, and just kind of became the owner of it and started to work on transformation policies to kind of get this to be what it's, certainly on the journey that it's on now.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so I'm actually kind of getting some chills here right now because what I'm seeing is like this intersection, and I mentioned it in the intro, but this intersection of a person that has business acumen and
Mhm.
has the knowledge that can turn this thing around, but it's fueled by this purpose and passion, like this really mission-driven organization to like help the environment. But there's also seeds of a call to adventure in this. There's seeds of you and a passion for like travel and adventure because like for you, and you and I spoke before this podcast as well, like you were living in the United Kingdom and you got this opportunity to move to Kenya. And like for you, it was just like, yeah, that sounds great. I'm going to go do that. But I think for most people it would have been like, wait a minute, I'm going to move to Africa. Like that's kind of a big deal. So I kind of wonder if you could speak to like your background as it relates to travel and adventure and how you got to this place where you were able to just say yes to like, I'm going to move to Kenya.
Well, I mean, my dad was in the military. He was an Air Force pilot,
Yeah.
and he flew F4s. And how do we know? Because he will tell you, as all kind of pilots do. And I born in Texas, raised in Vegas, swam in California. I pretty much had been to every state but Alaska and Hawaii by the time I was probably in 8th grade or 10th grade. My mother loaded us up. She was a teacher, into the station wagon. We did all the national parks every single summer. So, I had that travel bug. I spent 6 months in Europe after college, before I started the workforce. I've always, I've been to, I counted up because I was thinking of it, been to 128 countries, in the world. To me, it's just always like, I'm heading to Colombia soon. My friends are like, what? I'm like, yeah, can't wait. We're going to go diving. I just kind of look at it as an opportunity. And I even did that in my business career. I would work with coaches and they'd say, Erin, what is it you want to do? I'm like, I don't know, just paid paid
Yeah.
work thing so I can go visit places. That just has been my underlying spirit. So, yeah, I think that adventure is in me. I've been to crazy countries. I'm not a backpacker. I'm go visit and immerse myself a little bit in the culture. Yeah, so it's just always been part of me. So, picking up and moving. And if somebody said, okay, we're going to go because we're looking at Colombia as maybe doing a workshop similar to what we do in Kenya, because, our impact impacts local communities. And there are places around the world that have the same problem we have: flip-flops, artisans, and low, high poverty, low employment rates. And so, Colombia is one, Haiti, Honduras, Guatemala. I mean, I could list them off. And, any of those countries, I'll just get on a plane, go visit. So,
Yeah. So you mentioned like it's this underlying spirit. And
yes.
I'm just curious, like, do you ever like take that for granted? Is it just something that's always there for
It's just
you?
always there. Annoys the hell out of my husband. He's an adventurer. I mean, since he's met me, I met him later in Kenya, and we've been together, and he's been to like 22 countries since he met me. I'm like, we were sitting at his cousin, not to, I hope she'll never listen to this, but like boring as could be in Denmark. And I was like, okay, we got to get out of here. So I like looked up and like, I found this like small cruise boat, adventurous cruise boat that was going from Copenhagen to Iceland. And we were like, and he's like, when are we leaving? I'm like, in 2 days. And we like, spent 2.5 weeks getting to Iceland and then another 2 weeks. And, I think it's just it's kind of what I do. And if I can get in the water and scuba dive or water ski or sail, that even makes it all better. So
Yeah. And what is it about adventure that fills you?
it's it's the stimulation of something new. I mean, like I said, I was forthcoming in my ADHD, like that kind of stimulation is the challenges of, I love meeting people. I'm a big extrovert. I love, the whole thing, just kind of immersing. I'm not an immerser in my culture, where a lot of people go and they, the kind of, I want to go and learn the language. That's not me. I want to go and be me in these countries and meet people that, are kind of attracted to me in terms of my energy and things. And so, I don't know where it came from. I think my grandmother was like that. My mother's like that, just a very, need to be on the road, kind of seeing everything.
Hey everyone, it's Scott here. Did you know that the members of my real estate team, W Realty Group, are listening to their own voices that call to adventure by setting big goals? Some of those goals include planning trips to Bali and the Kingdom of Bhutan, buying investment homes, and running the Chicago Marathon. At W Realty Group, we support and encourage these big goals and want to help turn them into reality. We're currently looking to add new members to the team. If you know a great real estate agent in the Charlotte, North Carolina area that would benefit from being part of our team, please send a text, an email, or give me a call. And know that when you support W Realty Group, you're also supporting this podcast. Thanks for listening. Yeah. So you've got the business history for sure. You've got this adventure spirit that you've had since you were a kid.
Yeah.
How about the environmental piece?
Well, it's funny because, when I met with business coaches about what should I do in my career next and all this kind of stuff, always was drawn to water. I was a swimmer. I'm always around water. I need to live near water, need to be near there. And I think it was just like all of a sudden it was like these I was a scuba diver and I'm watching these coral reef problems were happening, until I really went to these third world countries. And it's not just a Kenyan problem. It's a problem of lack of infrastructure. These governments do not invest in waste management, is when I really saw kind of the pollution and the destruction of, our marine life, the coastal communities, the overfishing that's taking place, kind of our rules and regulations around import, export of fish. And, in Kenya, tilapia, we're one of the biggest providers of tilapia, but we can't eat it in Kenya. It has to go to Australia and then sent back to us. We import our own fish. So you have these kind of like rules, regulations just don't make sense anymore. And I think I just started seeing this and was like, okay, somebody's got to get to something. It can't just, our millennial and Gen X or Gen Zs can't just do this, I think we have to use our business acumen to drive that change. And I think that's what kind of got me going on that.
Yeah. And so like in terms of this bringing together of sort of these three facets, before we move back into Ocean Soul, I'm just curious, I'm kind of listening to you and I'm just wondering, the environment, your business acumen, your love for adventure. Like, first of all, do you feel like you're really living a purposeful life right now with what you're doing with Ocean Soul? I mean, that probably is an obvious statement, but.
Well, it's funny because I think, I think women of my generation are absolutely self-critical. And, I'm always like, oh my God, I'm not doing enough. I need to go back to another graduate degree because there's another thing I could be doing and, and adding more impact. I think with maturity and age, I am more recognizing that actually my energy and experience drives change. If you look at any change model, it's like you need to have some kind of driver of that. And I think my ability to create and innovate, it helps a lot. Yeah. I am a big about the environment, but I would have to say my true passion is the people, like the team that I work with, not just my management team and, kind of the leaders, but the artisans families, the coastal communities that we go out and talk to and educate. Like, that's when tears come to my eyes of what can we do more to help these people, because they just really have no idea kind of what is happening to them on a macro level, as well as what can they do about it at a micro level.
Yeah. And I'm excited to get into some of those transformation stories as well. So the last piece on this is, I'm just curious, like, do you feel like you've consciously created this life for yourself, or do you feel like these things have just sort of come together somehow? Like, have you just sort of attracted this?
I would say my life kind of changed. I'll tell a quick story. In 1997, I was traveling with my mother. We happened to be going to Paris. I was kind of, again, switching jobs or something. And I said, let's go, to Paris and London and Berlin. And we were kind of traveling all around, doing everything. And we landed in Paris and the Pope was there. And he was doing one of his very large, kind of, he brings kids from around the world to these kind of like places. And we just so happened to go, oh my God, it's so crazy. This is, and it was like, and then of course we're like, okay, we better like be, we better be on good form here. Funny enough, we met some friends of ours. They're Chinese Americans. Were there staying in a really swanky hotel. We were going to go meet them. And they said, let's meet at 7 a.m., which, anyone that's been to Paris, like 7 a.m., there's like nobody. Yeah. or anything. And mom and I were walking across, and all of a sudden there was like all this security, and this thing comes along, and all of a sudden it's like it's the Pope mobile, right? And he's literally, I'm not kidding, an arm's way away from us. Well, we're probably on the side of a sidewalk, and he's probably in that next lane. And they stop in front of us, and he's just sitting there. And he's like blowing kisses to us, and he's blessing us. And my mother swears our life changed, and that
That's incredible.
Of just kind of, whether you believe him or not, just kind of that experience of anyone, Mother Teresa, anybody, kind of has, my mother says, brought us great luck. And I think in some ways that was a really pivotal time in my life in terms of, just kind of like, God, I am the luckiest person. And then, we met Princess Diana on the end of that, which ended up in tragedy, but we just met her. She was staying in the same hotel we were in, and there was all this stuff. And so like this whole trip had this like bookend of like magic and tragedy. And it just kind of really made a depth to me of like, I got to get on with my life. Like, this is a special place to be living in life, that we all get this opportunity to do it. And what am I going to do? And I would say it took me about 20 years to figure out, 15 years to figure out what I really wanted to do. I do think I've manifested the balance that I have in my life in terms of fun. I'm always about the fun and the adventure first. And then how am I going to make money to fuel and afford the fun and adventure? And I think, just kind of staying to that as goals is what got me to a place that, combines my love of art, my love of ocean, my love of the people. And I've just made it, probably any other entrepreneur would think, okay, I just need to stay in Kenya and run this thing. I've been like, no, I need to be out there telling the story. I need to go to these other countries like Colombia, Honduras, India, and talk to people and, help them figure out ways to solve this problem. So I've kind of married all the things I ever wanted to do using Ocean Soul as a platform for not only change, but for my own destiny in interest, I would say.
I love that. Yeah. It sounds like you're following your passion and things worked out very, very well for you. So as we come back to Ocean Soul, you guys have a really great website that explains the company's mission and values and kind of how things work. So I wonder if you could just kind of give us an overview of that. Maybe we just kind of start with mission and values.
Well, so our entire mission is, to take these flip-flops, discarded flip-flops, and make art that represents conservation and community empowerment, in our art form. So that's what we do. And, we're all about employment. So these are, basically we've employed the unemployable. Most of these people are farmers. They are wood carvers. They, basically are side of the road hustlers, if you will. And so, we've created this kind of organization that allows for continuous community empowerment. We're all about our employees, and we're all about the high coastal communities that we work with. We figure out ways in which to teach them skills, ways in which to provide them decent income. We're all about conservation stewardship, whether our art is a pangolin to raise the awareness of the most trafficked, kind of animal in the world, or a gorilla, or, kind of, whether it's, manatees, we make our art can be made into something that can represent that and hopefully bring attention for, conservation and continuing to steward the savings of that. Our other missions, I would say the other two pillars that were really big is creativity and innovation. We're constant, we're a very creative organization. These guys can make anything. I mean, literally they are. I'm working with a really fun influencer artist. He kind of does things on Adobe and is combines an elephant and a dolphin, and we're starting to make some of his fun art for him. And these guys just, they've never seen him. I took them on safari. They've never seen a giraffe before, and they can make these things life size and just like it. So we have that. And then last, we spend our time educating the youth, going out and talking about conservation or social enterprise, some of its business skills, how they can start their own kind of recycling efforts or their own business, and kind of giving them that kind of infrastructure and backdrop of confidence.
Yeah, it's awesome. And I love again, just paint the picture. You have smaller pieces, but you've literally got life-size pieces.
Yeah. And we transformed it started kind of, I would say previously, kind of sell quote toys to, or plush, kind of flip-flop plushies, if you will, to zoos
Yeah.
and aquariums. And my need for art was like so big. I was like, wait a minute, guys, we've made a car, we made a, life-size car, we've made gorillas, we've made dragons, we've made dinosaurs. I mean, you can think of it. We've made an Eiffel Tower, we've made letters, we can pretty much do it. So,
Yeah.
and that's where the creative and the fun part for me is, and so I push that side of the business a lot because that's where my interests are.
Yeah, it's so fun. So who buys the art?
Oh, so we have, it's quite interesting. Here's my business background. It's like, we've got to diversify our revenue, guys. They're all like looking at me like, what are you talking about? So it's like, we have to have wholesalers. Wholesalers are zoos, aquariums, museums, retail shops. That is a very steady, predictable piece of the business. So, we focus on that. You can buy online. So we sell online, and you can buy everything from, something that's $20 to, I think even keychains now that are lower than that, all the way up to, things that are $1,000 some odd dollars there. So we have the online business. And then the big piece of our business, which I love, is the corporation, the high net worth individual or somebody that wants to do an installation. We've done installations in Canada, Philadelphia, malls, where people have a theory. Like this gentleman, he's buying a whole scene around, like, we've created a coral reef, and then all these different seahorses and fish and other things that would be hanging around this reef. And so he's going to have that as an installation. Hotels do it to cruise ships. There's like a hippo on a cruise ship where, the kids can go and swim and, take their slide off the hippo.
Oh
So
my gosh, that's awesome.
yeah, so it's like pretty much, anyone that's kind of like in an area where they want to use this type of art form, to make a statement or do something.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. So could you walk us through kind of the basic operations?
Sure. So basically, we decided, instead of employing people to clean beaches, what we've done is gone out to the communities and taught them how to almost set up like a Mary Kay or an Avon, a pyramid scheme.
Yeah.
And so basically, you get entrepreneurs at the highest level, they recruit people, they go and clean beaches. And then what they do is we buy the flip-flops. So we pay by the kilo. So so that way they're getting paid for the work. And they also go and sell to other companies like Ocean Soul or other individuals for like other plastic that they do.
So you're paying for the beach cleanup, and they're not just looking for flip-flops. They're doing a whole cleanup, but they're kind of separating the flip-flops.
Yeah. So we do both sponsored beach cleanups where if we don't have an entrepreneur there locally, we pay people. We call them the ocean mamas, so we will give them a daily wage to clean the beaches. But if they're an organized unit where they're like, maybe they're own the river or a lake, they go and they keep their area clean, and then we buy those flip-flops. So we don't pay them a salary. We pay them by the output.
Yeah. And so, I think so many of us have seen pictures of polluted beaches.
Yeah.
But are there really so many flip-flops?
Yes. So the flip-flops.
Why is that?
So we're the flip-flops. So if you got to think about the flip-flop, not as we do, in a first world country, if you will, or Western world, as kind of a fashion. This is like for 3.5 billion people we've predicted. I've worked with some anthropologists in London, and, we kind of started looking at poverty levels, hot emerging markets, villages, kind of places around the world. Flip-flops, because they're the cheapest form of shoe. You can buy them from $1 to $5, and they're replaceable, they're fixable and replaceable. So we expect about 3.5 billion people wear a flip-flop. So those have to be disposed. Now you have to remember, these are flip-flops that are made like really from like crude oil. This is not Tory Burch and Havianas and any type of biodegradable. These are non-biodegradable. They're like barely destructible. The urban dump sites or even the village dump sites, they can't handle the volume. And this is rubber. So this stuff doesn't move. Like if there's like in Ethiopia, they have a mudslide. And what happened is tires and flip-flops got so big, they just kind of really slid down and they killed hundreds of people in this, because these things don't move. A water bottle in a kind of river will move around and everything. Flip-flops, I mean, they'll block sewage, they'll block clean water things, so they're very damaging. And so they get somehow leaked, whether it's at the dump or whether it's kind of because people really are not throwing things into the ocean. I mean, there is a percentage of that, but that's not the major problem. And then they get caught up in these tidal waves, just like the marine animals. And that's how they end up on the beaches.
Yeah. And I feel like when we talked the first time, you mentioned to me that sometimes the trash facilities are located really close to the waterways.
Correct. So yeah, I do a whole presentation called "What the Flip Flop," and I show the examples like in Haiti, and I bet you when I go to Colombia, there'll be an urban dump that's really close to a river and water, because back in the day, everything was biodegradable, right? When these things started, you just had food, you probably had some textiles, etc. And then, obviously when monsoons or rains or something would come, if it leaked, it wasn't a problem. Well, now these dumps are like 80%, kind of plastic of some form. And then that's what happens. The monsoons still come, the rain still comes, the flood still comes. And, I just saw it running out in Haiti. I mean, it was just like literally a flow. It was just a river flow of plastic coming out.
Yeah. So this is kind of point one where Ocean Soul is making an impact, is just solely in the cleanup of the beaches right there. So now you guys have collected these flip-flops. So what happens from there?
So then they come into our workshop, they get weighed, we pay off whoever we need to do. They come in and they get washed. So again, to our ethos of people, it's manual, not machine. We don't have washing machines. We have ladies that come over and they wash all the flip-flops and disinfect them. Then they go into a sorting pile for the artists. Then the artists, they work on their projects. And if it's smaller, what we do is we glue them together in like a block form. They'll be like, imagine like five flip-flops in a row, and then they get glued together, and then the guys will start to carve. And then if it's a bigger piece, we use a thing called polyurethane, which is this really nasty stuff that comes out of styrofoam-like, but it's for refrigeration. So like if you've ever seen an old refrigerator, old container, it's that stuff. And we use that, and that becomes the basis of our big pieces. So because then we glue all that together, and our glue we use is the most environmental glue that we can, kind of with the supply chain in Kenya.
Yep.
And they carve that, and then they put the flip-flops on that. And so our big pieces are not all 100% flip-flop. They're this other recycled material that we use in combination.
That's awesome. But essentially what you're doing is you're creating like large pieces of block that then get sculpted or carved.
And then from there they get sanded down, and that's where a lot of the details come in, like the carving in the eyes, or like and then they add the whiskers, all the other different things, ears and bits, and then wash it down, and then it's ready to go. Pack it up, and it's off.
Yeah. Okay. So you've cleaned up a beach, you have provided employment opportunities, and you've made these beautiful pieces of art that anybody can now go on and buy.
Correct.
Yeah, it's magic. I really love it. So, Erin, what are some of the impacts and transformations that you've witnessed as you're running this ship?
Well, I mean, interesting enough, you have to think about when we talked about that volume of flip-flops I was telling you about. We recycle about 1.5 million flip-flops a year. So about every 60 seconds, we are, putting a flip-flop into some type of art form. So that's a big thing. But what I've really seen and been proud of is, I've taken kind of my, MBA kind of mindset and applied it to the business. Everybody's kind of on a meritocracy. We have proper fair wages. We have bonus programs. We have an employee welfare thing, where we take the profits and dump it into the welfare program, and people can borrow against it. So, I mean, I have some of my artisans, they were drug addicts, and we've provided them, some counseling for that. They've been on the street and had no homes, and, through their employment and through our our lending program that we have, they've been able to buy homes, or they've been able to buy pickies, which are like bodas, not bicycle, but like scooters and stuff, to get around. They've put kids through school. I mean, when you provide people a fair wage and, kind of opportunities to earn more and, kind of a lending platform for them to actually prioritize what they need in their lives, transformation happens because they never get that step to make that difference in their lives. And so we've seen, we have countless stories of that.
Yeah. And also for context, can you share like how the number of people that are involved in the organization has grown since you've taken over?
Yeah, so when I got there was probably 18, I think it was, about people. And, they were really, it was on the verge of bankruptcy. I mean, literally we got thrown out of our rent. I mean, there was a whole hoodoo-boo. I would have said Warren Buffett wouldn't even tolerated the shareholder issues that went on. But, and we worked out of my house because it was Christmas time and we had all these orders to get out. So I had them all at my house and backyards, and we were like sanding and doing all this stuff. And, we're now over 100 people that are relying on us for full-time income. And so, we're huge, and we've grown into the United States, and we get, we sell globally now. We've solved a lot of the shipping problems. We've just tackled each one and kept the lights on, and hope to just continue to grow or stay at, some level to continue our impact figures.
Yeah, it's incredible. So this is 100 people that y'all are providing employment opportunities for. Are there any stories of any of the individuals that are part of your group you might be able to share?
Well, we have Brian, we do a lot of highlights, and there's a lot on our website because we do highlight, kind of all, if they're willing to share their stories. But we've had Brian, he was a tragic case of glue sniffing, which is very highly addictive. He lived on the streets, and he came in just as a washer and then taught himself like how to carve. And so his story is remarkable because he's literally gone from that to like one of our top most creative carvers. We have women that have come out of prison, kind of been, you have to remember, you go to prison in Kenya if you've stolen a lighter or you've stolen a chicken, like really serious things that are, you have serious penalties for little, rudimentary kind of actions that were not really tolerated. So, we've provided them new lives. We've sent people to university. We do scholarships. I mean, it's just the personal stories are definitely there, and, they do share them.
Yeah, that's awesome. So how has Ocean Soul transformed you?
Well, that's good questions. Patience is one, because nothing. My brother makes fun of me because I always say to him, I can work in 2 hours. I can do what people do in 8, and it's not being condescending or like, but it is like there is an element of speed. In a social enterprise, it's a business like ours that is very manual, very artisan. Kind of you have workmen, a lot of, they all speak English, but not, kind of at the space like I can speak it, and understand me. So I would say patience for sure. I would say definitely, my days of, buying Chanel bags and kind of like what I would call, consumption, kind of consumer consumption has dropped significantly. I think I've learned a lot in terms of humanity from them. I mean, I have, Kenyans are an extremely beautiful culture. I mean, they're friendly. They, they'll tell you if you're fat, they have no qualms, and so it's a very like a humble place to work with them. And I treat them like peers. And, we were all in Saudi Arabia. 8 of us went to Saudi Arabia. I took the guys there, and we went to Kaust University, and just to see them like, I mean, we went out on I had to take them out on the water because they were convinced this is where Moses walked. You know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff, is like so inspiring for me. And we introduced them to the most famous football player, what's his name? Digba, like, I don't know, he came by and I got him to sign things. And, I'm just a ballsy woman that runs around and grabs the guy and like, you got to come meet the guys. And they're just like, so for me, it's just kind of, it's kind of, that is how I can use my personality, my energy, my, kind of go get it attitude to change them and give them those experiences. So, which is extremely rewarding.
Yeah. And today you kind of split your time between Florida and Africa. And I'm just curious, like, what's the difference between, like, for you, what is it like living in those two different places? And really, like, for folks like in the US and sort of Western culture, like that maybe can't visualize what it might be like to live in Africa. What is that like, or what was that like?
Kind of interesting because Kenya is it's probably a second world country. I mean, we have a huge middle class. I remind people that, Nairobi has a Bentley dealership. So let's start with that. There
Nice.
is affordability
Yeah.
there. Obviously my team and stuff isn't there, but there's a massive middle class there. High tech, Google's there, Microsoft. So Nairobi is a beautiful, crazy city. I live out on the Indian Ocean. I live in Kilifi, which, we have a house there, and I have 8 dogs, and, that is my home. Kenya is my home. America, I love America, but, I actually just love being, Kenya provides nature, it provides animals. You have a tribe of people that are adventurous. You don't go out to Kenya to, rest and, go play tennis. I mean, we do play tennis and we do play pickleball and stuff, but, you're not there kind of for that purpose. You're there for whatever, reasons, whether it's lead an exciting life or whether it's, travel or just, kind of be, kind of one-on-one in a beautiful country. So it's, we don't have the best food. I will say the one thing I will say is different, that is when we come to America, we do get fat. The processed food here, we're very nature, because we just don't have that. We have a Carrefour, which is like I guess a Publix, but it's we don't have kind of the level of packaged food. Everything there is like farm to table. Everything.
Yeah,
is
that sounds a lot healthier, actually.
Yeah, it's definitely way more healthier. So. Yeah, so there's many differences, but it's nice doing both, but Kenya is home.
Yeah, I love that. So Erin, how can people help or get involved or even buy products from Ocean Soul?
So yeah, going to oceansoul.com is, a great way to support us. We do everything from, you can buy art there, you can donate. We have different programs. You can donate for a beach cleanup in your name. You can help, fund a lunch, kind of some meals, so we have all that kind of available as well. We're happy if you're a business and you want to differentiate yourself. We've done, like I said, a car. We have done, for boring. We've all, in business have all gone to these huge conferences, a few, cubicles and stuff. We've made animals to drive people to those cubicles. So, those are the best, anything, if you want to be different and you want to like support an organization that's doing something for environment and people, we're kind of the place, and we're very creative, and I would say one thing that everybody is complimented on is we're very professional to work with. They don't expect to have, but my team, everybody, we are like, boom, in there. I mean, you would think we're a software sales team because we're kind of, we're ready. We want to make it easy to do work with us. And I think we've achieved that.
Yeah, I definitely think that if you're a business and you have a large piece of Ocean Soul art in your lobby or wherever, it's going to be eye-catching, and it's definitely a discussion topic, and it's serving a great purpose.
Well, and I was going to just mention one other thing that's quite fun. What we're doing now, we've just launched this mascot program for schools, because schools have eagles, sharks. And we did this amazing thing, and we're going to roll it out. Is we had a school get in touch with us. So we met with them, and whatever their design was about, let's say $4,000 they wanted to do. And basically we created the infrastructure on our website, and they sent it out to their school, and everybody, it was like crowdfunded. And they basically raised enough money through, parents and teachers and other people, businesses, and, to build their mascot and ship it to them. And we're getting a lot of interest in that. And I think that's kind of really super cool, because it's like, it's going out to the schools. And so, teachers and conservation clubs can speak about not only our story, but like what that represents, and, kind of recycling. And so that's really becoming kind of a super cool project for us.
That is awesome. I love that idea.
Yeah.
And it's actually like, it sounds like such a great idea that the thought that triggered in my mind, which the answer to this might be a, good thing. I'm curious, like, do you ever see a day when there are no more flip-flops, or there's not a lot of flip-flops that you can use to create this art?
People always say that, but $1.5 million, and I mean, we can't keep up with it. I mean, it's just, and that's just in Kenya. Like I said, if my ideal would be, I'd love like Gates Foundation to hand you money and go, okay, let's open up in Colombia, Guatemala, Haiti, and India, and Indonesia, and Philippines. Is a huge problem. And it's like, because there's enough. And, as long as you're driving the market where there people will buy them, there's plenty, sadly.
If that day ever comes, it's a long way away.
long way away. Our children will be, or my grandchildren will be running it by then, I think.
Yeah. And I love how you said that people can sponsor a beach cleanup in their
Mhm.
name.
Yeah.
You also mentioned to me that you often get asked, can people donate flip flops?
Yeah, I mean, that is one issue we have. We can't really, well, it just becomes very expensive to send them in. And the problem is the Kenyan government looks at trash. They look at it and we would have to charge import tax for that.
Yeah.
The only thing we've gotten to, which is quite exciting, we're doing a partnership with Aston Martin from Formula One.
Cool.
And did you know that all the Formula One cars are made of the same material that we put inside of our large things, this polyurethane? So they have, as their designers design these cars, they have all this extra stuff, and they're about to send us a whole container of Formula One polyurethane, which I think is going to be super cool. And so we've been working on designing Formula One cars, especially the Aston Martin one, because I think it'd be really cool to kind of sell those to the fans, because that's a huge,
I love that. Yeah.
I'm a big Formula One fan. So it's like they, having that and being able to have a piece of Formula One, I think will be super cool.
Totally. I think that's fantastic. So, Erin, you've done such a beautiful job in your life combining these three things that are so important to you: the environment, the adventure, your business acumen. I'm just curious, for people that are listening that are inspired by your story and they wonder if, how can they bring together their passions? So what advice would you have for them?
Oh, that's a good question, because it's you know what? I think it's like our generation, the Gen X generation, I'm kind of giving up on the boomers. No, I'm kidding. But it's like, we all have to take our experiences that we have, and we do have a lot to offer, and you don't think about it but we have years of experience, and we're like the most, our age group is kind of the most transformational. I mean, when we were born, it was, reel to reel. Like, look at us now, Bluetooth, we've lived that, you know what I mean? It's like, and I think we underestimate underestimate the things that we can bring to the table. And I think it's just like, kind of working through what is that passion and knowing you can make a difference. We don't all have to be, nonprofit gurus and, kind of like, wandering around in Birkenstocks and stuff. No offense, but you know what I mean? Kind of save the world people. Our skills can be saving the world, but using it from, the value proposition that we come from. So, I mean, I think that's, kind of for me, it's like, it's all possible. It's always been told it's scary, but actually you end up in a comfort zone that's far exceeds wherever, you were when you wanted to drive that change.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Erin, so inspiring what you're doing. So inspiring what Ocean Soul is doing. Like, this is big and it's only going to get bigger. And as people go on and buy more and more art and more products, Ocean Soul is going to become more and more known globally. And at some point, Hollywood is going to pick up on your story and they're going to want to make a movie about you.
Yes.
And when they do, I want to know who the Hollywood actress is going to be that's going to play you in your movie.
They can only be Jennifer Coolidge, I hope.
Oh, yeah.
I hope that she would do the honor and bring me to life and make me look like her. That would be awesome.
So she's hysterical, but this is, and I think this movie's going to be fun, but it's not purely just a comedy because it's so full of purpose.
But she's, if you read about her, and I'm quite a big fan, she's a huge, a little bit like Ricky Gervais, about animals. She's she's a vegan, she's kind of environmentally.
She's perfect.
She acts one way, but she's purposeful in her life.
She's perfect. What's this movie going to be called?
Well, I think it should be called, because I'm thinking about writing a book. And so I think the book, kind of would be the same. It's What the Flip Flop, because I think that's a great, catchy title. And it's a soulmate's journey from corporate to conservation.
Oh, yes.
I know, it's not Mission Impossible 7, but it could be that too.
Say that again. Say the subtitle again.
A soulmate's journey from corporate to conservation.
Yeah, I love it. What the Flip Flop, starring Jennifer Coolidge. Yeah. I'm going to see that movie. That's going to be fantastic.
I've got to think about what to wear on the red carpet already.
Yeah. So if people want to learn more about you or get in touch with you or Ocean Soul, what's the best way to do that?
Well, there's, obviously you can go onto our website, hello@oceansoulafrica.com. I'm on LinkedIn, and I'm not super active like everybody is in the business world, but I answer all the messages to me and questions and things like that. They definitely, and also for me, you can get reached directly, CEO@oceansoulafrica.com.
Awesome.
And soul is SOLE.
Awesome. Erin, thank you so much for your time today. It's a hugely inspiring mission, and I'm inspired. And for those listening, I hope that you've been inspired today as much as I have. I hope Erin's story has encouraged you to listen to the voice inside that calls you to adventure, because we want to hear your story next. If you have a story to tell or just need a nudge to create one, please send me an email. We'd also appreciate it if you'd help us spread the word by leaving a review and sharing or tagging Inspire Campfire in your social media. And until next time, I want to encourage you to get outside. Thank you for listening. Erin, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Scott, very much.